Well, that was a great performance from United, namely De Gea, but do you think Solskjaer can lead them to the Arsene Wenger Memorial Trophy, aka 4th place? Hey, what's up? I'm Adrian, and this is Rabona TV's weekend recap where we look, well, usually we look at the top 4 leagues and sprinkle in a 5th bonus league, but again, not all the leagues have returned to action yet, so this will be a mixed bag of competitions, from cup matches to league matches, etc. But as long as we have each other, we'll be happy, right? And as per usual, a big thank you to OneFootball for sponsoring the weekend recap. OneFootball is the best app out there to keep you up to date on your club, other teams of interest, if you want to do some spying like my man at Leeds. Customizable feeds, live scores, match tickers, highlights, videos, and more. There's a free download in the description for either iOS or Android. So, in the Premier League, West Ham versus Arsenal got things started off on Saturday afternoon. I actually went to the reverse fixture of this match back in August, I believe, and despite Arsenal coming out on top in that one 3-1, I thought that it was more down to West Ham's wastefulness than any sort of dominance by Arsenal. And now, 5 months later, 5 months into the new regimes at these two clubs, and they still seem as close as ever. Well, besides in the standings where 10 points separate them. However, another match for Arsenal, another occasion in which Ozil is out and they look like they could use him. And at the other end, another match in which Arsenal failed to keep a clean sheet. In fact, shout out to subscriber Linus for sending along the stat that Arsenal are ranked 19th now as far as clean sheets go with just 3. Better only than Fulham, who have 2 clean sheets. In this one, of course, the big development was that misfit Samir Nasri made his Premier League return against his former team, and he put in a decent performance, even grabbing an assist on Declan Rice's winner. Big day for the 19-year-old Rice, by the way. Arsenal fans have got to feel like they're stuck in limbo, in some sort of weird purgatory between going on to being a legitimate threat in the league and being a limp noodle in the league once again. After that incredible unbeaten run, their last 6 matches have seen them win 2, draw 1, and lose 3. Which is not good enough. And Arsenal fans, how do you feel about what Emery had to say about not being able to afford buying new players? Chelsea had a relatively routine 2-1 win over Newcastle United. Certainly some pretty hairy moments in there for the Sarri gang, with goals from Pedro and Willian, and man, I'm sorry, but just saying those names would make me bored as a Chelsea fan. Pedro and Willian, great servants of the club, but I'd be wanting them to move on right about now and would be hoping that Sarri would be doing just that with them, but I guess they have a bit of a personnel problem. He thinks that Hudson-Odoi isn't ready yet, but they do have Pulisic coming in, and if they hold on to Hudson-Odoi, that would be pretty incredible. Watch, now he's going to be sold by the morning time when this video comes out, and my video will have been dated already. One player in particular that seemingly has a problem is Alvaro Morata, who wasn't even in the Chelsea squad for this match after rumors have surrounded him about a possible move to Sevilla, Barcelona, or Milan. Well, actually, Barcelona just sold Munir to Sevilla, so maybe we can rule out Sevilla as far as Morata's potential next destinations. Now, if you're to believe the papers, then Morata could be heading to Barcelona on loan to back up Luis Suarez. Then again, he could be involved in some sort of swap for Higuain, despite Juve denying a swap deal as a possibility. Remember, Higuain is on loan at AC Milan with an option to buy. I'll keep you updated on that situation in the future. Maybe we'll do a transfer video this week. Transfer talk. You guys remember that? But anyways, Liverpool tried to put the pressure on City by getting a victory over Brighton, and they did so, thanks to a Mo Salah penalty just after the half. He's having another incredible season. In the Premier League alone, he scored 14 and assisted 7. That makes for an involvement in 21 goals in 21 starts. 22 appearances overall, though. Now, with that win, Liverpool moved 7 points ahead of City, and with City facing Wolves today, there's always a possibility that the gap between those two could stay at 7 points. With how City is playing these days, and with how Wolves always seem to offer a threat, although sometimes they're not a threat at all, you could see that matchup going either way. A big win for City, or a potential slip-up for City. Okay, finally in England, the big match of the weekend, United going to Wembley to take on Spurs. Now, back in August, Spurs smacked up United 3-0 at Old Trafford, but this time around, they've been riding high on Solskjaer vibes and his tactics and approach, which was no doubt refined by Phelan. He's been a huge integration into the squad, I think. It was a pretty back and forth match, a fairly even match, especially in the first half where chances were perfectly even, but Marcus Rashford finished quite nicely in the 43rd, his 3rd consecutive Premier League match in which he scored. The strike was perfect. I thought that Lloris's positioning was just a bit off after he was made to scramble into position after the incredible through ball from Pogba. Fun fact, by the way, No Premier League player has been involved in more goals since Solskjaer has taken over in December than Paul Pogba himself. So, as we know, it's always a good omen to score right before the half, especially though when you're Manchester United, as they had won 62 of their 66 matches that they had been leading at halftime in the Premier League since 2014. Or maybe it was 62 out of 68 matches that they led. I'm losing my memory, excuse me. In the second, Spurs were playing for keeps.
I play for keeps. I play for keeps.
Opportunity after opportunity only led to save after save from De Gea. Pogba had a hat-trick of opportunities to extend the lead as well, but Lloris stood strong when he was called upon. De Gea, though, he made 11 saves in this one, the most he's ever made in a league match that he has kept a clean sheet in. Otherwise, the most saves he's made in a match was, of course, that infamous match against Arsenal last December, where Lingard did the Millie Rock at the Emirates. There were some excellent saves mixed in there, but I think that the Spurs players will ultimately be a little bit frustrated with themselves, as I found that they were placing their shots a little too close to De Gea on far too many occasions. Yep, he made some great reaction saves and was made to stretch on a few occasions. Great performance from him, take nothing away from it, but Ali and Kane especially were directing their efforts at or pretty close to De Gea a little too often, or at least a little more than they would have liked. So, United get the 1-0 win, and Solskjaer equals Sir Matt Busby's record of 5 wins in his first 5 top-flight matches, which now begs the question, can he and United keep this going? This was always earmarked as the first real test by myself and everyone else in the footballing world. And I think given the circumstances, this was a competent display by United. Defense was decent for the most part, though bailed out by De Gea on occasion. The midfield looked good. Martial and Rashford looked decent with Lingard as the false 9. And having said that, I thought that Solskjaer set up the team well to get something out of this match, which was always the biggest question mark over his head. How's his tactical acumen? Decent, at least from this one match. It's only one match, guys. The league doesn't lie though, so we'll thankfully be able to check back in with Solskjaer and his tactical acumen following his half season with United, his job interview basically. So again, sorry, I got off track there. All things considered, do you think they'll crack the top 4? It feels like they will in this moment, but we'll have to see. You guys sound off in the comment section and let me know your opinions, what matters, not mine. For old time's sake, let's take a look at the Liga action from this weekend. Well, happy to report that Lille is still getting results and is still in second place. On Friday, they defeated Caen 3-1 with Nicolas Pepe playing a big role in the win once again, 2 assists and a goal. He's been involved in 19 goals so far this season, the same as Hazard and Ronaldo in league play, by the way. Lyon also played on Friday night, but only managed a 1-1 draw at home to Stade Reims. 2 draws in a row for them, as they find themselves just barely holding on to third place on goal difference. The team they're vying for third with is of course Saint-Etienne, who won 1-0 away to Guingamp. Speaking of Guingamp, PSG lost their first domestic match in 44 matches against Guingamp in the Coupe de la Ligue on Wednesday, but they returned to their dominant ways on Saturday night away to Amiens. Cavani got things started for PSG with a penalty, then he went ahead and set up Mbappe for the second, Marquinhos added a third, and 3-0 was the final, meaning that PSG retained their 13-point lead at the top of the table, having played 2 matches less than second place Lille. If they win those 2 matches, yikes, a 19-point lead will open up. The other big matchup, or at least formerly a big matchup, was Marseille hosting AS Monaco, and things are still very difficult for Monaco, man. Yes, they have picked up a few wins lately. Well, 4 in their last 10 matches, which is a lot better than the 1 in their first 17 matches across all competitions. Not counting the Super Cup, of course. But they're still relegation fodder at this point. Now they have picked up a few new recruits like Naldo from Schalke and Cesc Fabregas, both of which started this match, and Ronnie Lopes is back from injury as well, which is arguably the biggest signing they've had this January. Well, despite all that, Monaco still only managed a 1-1 draw with Marseille, but it's definitely a positive result for them as this team tries to move in the right direction, aka out of relegation. I'm rooting for Henry to get it done and keep them afloat, and ultimately I do believe he will. But for now, Monaco are still 8 points from guaranteed safety. They're a few points away from that sort of playoff spot, but they're 8 points away from guaranteed staying up. Okay, where else do we have? Spain, some Italian Cup matches. But yeah, we won't mess with the Italian Cup matches too much. But let's go to Portugal now, as there was a big match with potential title implications. Well, potential implications, as there's still a decent lead for Porto and a decent way to go. But anyways, Porto and Sporting faced off in Lisboa, and despite Porto starting brightly, the rest of the first half was fairly dominant from Sporting. But it was Porto that came the closest after the half, and from there, a barrage of opportunities fell to the league leaders. But a mix of poor finishing and decent saves from Ribeiro, they could find the breakthrough. Sporting probably edged Porto as far as meaningful chances went, but I think a draw was a fair result in the end. Maybe Sporting deserved the win a little more than Porto. So, prior to that, on Friday, Benfica went away to Santa Clara on the island of São Miguel, where my family is from. And despite not looking too convincing at times, they got the 2-0 win and overall were extremely worthy winners. Probably should have had 2 or 3 more goals, but I'm not complaining, especially with Seferovic starting to look like the player that I thought we were getting when we first signed him. He's reinvigorated under Bruno Lage. And so, with Braga getting a 1-1 draw against Portimonense, it means that it's still tight at the top in Portugal. Porto have a 5-point lead over Benfica on 38 points, Braga right behind them on 37, and Sporting are in fourth with 35. What is wrong? And finally, let's finish things up in La Liga, where top of the table hopeful Sevilla were the only team in the top 6 that lost this weekend, as they put up a rather bleak display away to Athletic Bilbao. Bilbao, by the way, are unbeaten in their last 5 league matches now, after having a pretty rough start to the season. Atletico Madrid played at home to Levante, and let's see if you can guess the score in this one. Was it 1-0 Atletico, 1-1, 0-0, or 1-0 Levante? Well, if you guess 1-0 to Atletico, you'd be right, because Atletico is basically one golico at this point, having only scored once in each of their last 4 matches. Oh, and the man that gave them that one goal that they were absolutely gagging for week in and week out was, of course, Antoine Griezmann, who is one of the hottest attackers in Europe at the moment. Scoring from the spot, he scored his 6th goal in his last 5 La Liga matches. Barcelona eased past Eibar with the usual suspects getting on the score sheet. Messi with 1, and a brace for Luis Suarez. Now, last week we talked about how Coutinho has been having a rough go of things lately, and following that video, he got the start and a goal against Levante midweek in the Copa del Rey, and on Sunday he grabbed an assist. So, definitely an improvement after not getting involved in any goals for over 2 months. His last involvement before the match against Levante was an assist versus Inter at the beginning of November. Oh, and by the way, guys, that was Messi's 17th goal in the league and Suarez's 13th and 14th, as they are 1 and 2 in the league's top scoring race, and have scored more than half of Barcelona's goals, I believe. Right, editor Adrian? Real Madrid went away to Real Betis with the hopes of getting things back on track, sort of, after a shaky return from the Club World Cup, and they did so, getting a 2-1 win thanks to an 88th minute Dani Ceballos winner, downing his old team, doing him dirty in the dying moments of the match. Madrid was playing some major counter-attacking football, and man, I haven't seen a possession stat so lopsided in a match that Madrid has been involved in for a while now, or at least it's escaping my memory at the moment. But in this one, Betis had 74% possession, which to me was mad. But I mean, it doesn't matter in the end, because Madrid were not only better at generating chances, but taking them as well. Big win for Solari, big win for Madrid, and they have reclaimed 4th place in the standings after Deportivo Alavés were held to a 1-1 draw against Girona. And that's it. That's all. We're done here. You're up to date. Oh yeah, one last thing if you don't already. Follow me on Instagram, man, and give me shit if I don't post very often, please. My resolution in 2019 is to work on my Instagram page a bit to bring you sick content like this. Starting a 5-pin bowling channel very soon. Okay guys, I'm Adrian, I love ya, and I'll see you also very soon. Peace!